philosophy foundation and historical foundation. Last week we talked about educational foundations. So we talk about basic philosophy, philosophical foundations. So and we talk about educational foundation, and we talk about basic also philosophy of education and basic theories, right? And that is really important because what kind of philosophy do you have for education? You're gonna plan, you're gonna set the goal, you're gonna plan the programs, and you're gonna execute the class to achieve the goal of education. So your philosophy is really important. Sometimes it's behind, it's not evident, but still give it directions and kind of draw to the method and then draw the theories, and then it's really foundational. So philosophy and also and the theory. So maybe we don't have much theories about Christian education, but we always kind of adopting also general educations, kind of from the general educations. So probably we need really wisdom and insight to integrate the Christian faith and education. So it's a lot of work. Still, let's see. Maybe you gotta think about more. You needed to struggle more, and you gotta read more. So a lot of people out there, but their perspective may be a little bit different from your perspective, and a little bit different from what you expect. But still, through the reading, you could get some idea and how to practice education in your kind of your context. So I hope that it was really helpful for you guys. And then today we're going to talk about the historical foundation of education, especially how they started education in the world and then in Christian world, right? And then how they developed. So the reason that you can we study history, and then I met a lot of times, and also way of life is different, but we can get some insight from the one of the benefit. Not every time, but even though context is different, but still we can look back and we can evaluate what we are doing now, and then we can get some idea from the past and then other educational method. That's why we look, kind of look reviews of the historical foundation of education. And here is, and then education started from the Asian civilizations, China and Near East, especially Near East, one of a small, and then they have formal schools are established around 3000 BC. Can you imagine that? And about 3,000 years ago, school is already established and started, and that is so. And so a lot of artifacts, writings show the material related to reading and writing and arithmetics and vocation skills and allegiance to the kings were primary focus, right? They really focus on that one. So it's not how to people to be successful like this, and maybe nowadays schools provide a lot of skills and ideas. Depends on what kind of skills, right? School is really focused on the academy, and then they provide a lot of theories and research, and school is really focused on the vocational skills, and then you're gonna learn the practical things. But it's a little bit different, right? So, but if you wanna more specific and professional, wanna get the professional skills and knowledge, and takes a long way. So after college and 3 years and another 3 years, 4 years, and takes so long. But it just started small. It's a long time ago, right? Around 3,500 before Christ. Yeah. And another countries like Persian, later on Persian is there. Persian really emphasized on the characters of a male student. At the time, they only count the male, and they don't count the female. So, and character of the male student and preparation for military and political service is for, and that is not really very limited. I think it's not open. U.S. is not open to everybody, but still, they a long time ago it was Old Testament period, and that countries really there is no separation between nations and God, right? They together. So their basic so Taneto education is based on the Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrian, so one of the religions was really popular at the time, and that's really central. So it means that the foundation of the education is always related to their religions, right? Even though it's not a famous religion, but still a lot of societies are really close, connected to their religion and then their practice, right? Muslims, right? Islam is really connected to their religion, to their society, and then their life. And another one is the kind of another really education is for the priest, and they equip the priests who serve their God and who kind of serve people, right? And that is kind of an education at the time. But it comes to China around a little bit later, around 300 BC, and like Sumer and Persians, and then China established formal schools, right? And they really, their education is really focused on the character education. So how you can be good, and how can you avoid the bad things like this, right? And character educations, and sometimes music, and sometimes poetry. It's a little bit different, depends on their depends on their and societies, and then, but basically the country is really interesting, right? The music and poetry, right? And I remember a long time ago, and when I was in Korea, when they wanted to become an official for the government, and then they take a test, right? And then they took a test related to poetry, not music. Music is a different people's work, And so in the education in China, the philosophy took a central place in curriculums, and then I don't know you guys heard about Confucius, and still Confucianism is really influence on China's culture, and then worldview, and Korea's culture and worldview. So the writings of Confucius is moral characters and really man-centered. Right? Society, when you look back, is really man-centered. Maybe there is the woman-centered society, but mostly when you look at when you look into the society, it's kind of man-dominated society. So if you interested kind of Oriental philosophy, and then they depends on the period, they developed a lot of different philosophies, and then Confucianism is one of the philosophy in China, and Taoism and other and philosophies are in China. And what about go to Egypt? So another civilization area in Nile, and then Egypt is like around schools appeared, emerged around 500. A little later than the China's and then other nearest countries. And then they have kind of dual educational systems. What is the school sponsored for the government and vocational and military training, right? That is another one, and then another one, temple schools, kind of reading, writing, leadership in religious thought and observances, and relate to their religions, right? So Egypt is kind of ran the schools in dual systems. And what about in Hebrew? It's a long time ago, like 4,000 years ago and 6,000 years ago. And Hebrew is really focused on the monotheistic belief. Monotheistic means that only one God is there. And so, and based on the monotheistic belief, and they shaped the culture of the community with that one, right? And so they said that the righteousness was not a set of arbitrary character traits, but the character of God. So a little bit different from other education. So the Hebrew education is really connected. Education is connected with their religion. So they are not separate. They are one, but think about it's really God-centered, and what's our model, our kind of standard of being good, and is what? It's from God's character. It's not human's standard. So there's a lot of laws, and they have to teach, and then that is one of the educations, and then sometimes Hebrew people the ritual observance of the communities, and then home life of the children, and kind of what was the primary kind of vehicle of transmission of God-centered education cultures. That's family, parents. It's a little bit different. And we cannot see the kind of formal schooling like that, but still they teach their children by their parents and grandparents, right? And their law is already there, and they got how the parents teach them and grandparents teach them. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 6, 1 to 9, and it's really famous verse. There is one of the 4 to 5, and then we call it Shema. And then, their God is only one God, and you need to love God with your whole mind, your whole strength, like this. And then that's the Shema. And then that's why. And really, God focused, but they have to keep how they later on they show how to teach your children. When you lie down, when you go out, and you have to put the God's word in your forehead, and you gotta put it. When you go to Israel, like Jerusalem, and you could see they wearing the black dark and clothing, and they are Orthodox Jews there, and they still practice what God said like a long time ago, right? So Hebrew education is like what? What's the main was a primary vehicle of transmission of education is what God-centered education is what was parents. And so later on there is some we consider Bible, and then there's a school for the prophet, and there was. And so another characteristic of the Hebrew education is certain people, like Egypt and like China. It's not certain people, and to everybody. So it's not just only elite people group, but like such as a culture of the ancient Near East and China and Korea, but still their education is to everybody, right? At the time, so our system is a little bit different, and that's the characteristic. So one characteristic is a monotheistic belief, and then they culture of the community, and another thing is the really families, not the institutions. Family is the primary vehicle of the educations, and then education was not limited to certain people, like elite people, but everybody. That's a characteristic that we can see. Let's come down to Greek and Roman period. How Greek education is different from Roman education. What was their focus at the time? And Greek education is a little bit different from Roman educations. And we could say one example is Greek education is really ideal and abstract, focus on, and you can see the philosophers. And the Roman education is really practical. That's my point of view. So let's go over the Greek educations. Greek education is really contributed education in Western civilizations, and based on Greek and Romans, and then they developed ideas, and they developed. That's why really contributed to Western civilizations, and their education is a little different from was a Spartan education. Yeah, militaristic Spartan education. Have you heard about it? Spartan education. So they are kind of military training and education, and there is no room, and it's only one thing is that you gotta train well, you gotta be a good soldier to be successful, right? And that's just Spartan. So there is a rule is there, you have to follow. But usually the education is really democratic, societal atmosphere, and then they teach them. So one of the education is Socrates, and he was a philosopher, and then his teaching style was a dialectic, and meaning that he talked to them and then tried to help them. They not know something and try to figure out, understand who they are, and then they can learn something. That is a dialectic method, a little bit different from Spartan education. So what is so Greek golden ages of Greek education is like the age of Pericles, and then around BC 459 to 430. That is a kind of Athenian golden ages. It's kind of literally the education was Greek education is kind of all those hit their kind of pinnacles, right? And so their education education is really based on the affluence of the city, subsidized by significant scholars and community and elite class citizens for the advanced learning. So some people is there and they really want to learn about more, and then there's a lot of philosophers and classes there, and then they took advantage of this one. So at the time, even though it's Greece or really democratic society atmosphere, but still education was not available to women or slaves, right? No education for women and slaves, but their education as well as a consummation of their education is like Athenian ages, and then Athenian education was theoretical, just for the certain people, elite in society, and Victorian. They think about not physical things, and then they think about really ideal and forever things, right? Victorian. So really, that is a big characteristic, and that's why they really philosophy was very prevalent, literatures and art. So maybe you know that Socrates and Plato and Aristotle's kind of three greatest philosophy in Greek histories and ancient philosophies in Greeks, and then they shaped the human critical reasoning, how to reason. And little bit, Plato and Socrates, and they're a little bit different, but big influence, right? Especially Plato's kind of reasoning is really influence on Christianity, and what about Aristotle's a little bit focus on the not the true ideal stuff, and then but still try to understand the world and a little bit maybe he compared with the Plato and maybe experimentation, experiment, right? Empirical, right? So it's really their education is paved the foundation for the Renaissance and modern scientific ages. So that's why reasoning and logical reasoning is really important. So that's why Greek education is about contribute to education in Western civilizations. But it's not that practical, right? Think about philosophy is really important, but it's not visible, it's not tangible, but it goes to people's mind and then change people's thoughts, right? That's really, sometimes takes long, and they don't give the specific idea about how to educate, but provide the foundations. Here is a little bit different education system, public education system in Plato and Aristotle. And if you see the chart, and Plato is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's different. They divide age like this, and then 1 to 3 little kids, and then physical growth and development and sensory love, no fear, and child reacted to the project or paid. So that is a kind of really basic idea about how education is like. And 4 to 6 is a nursery, and then they play and fairy tales and nursery rhythms is coming out at the time. Meet and seek to eliminate the self-will of the child, and then that is a basic curricular emphasis. And then infancy and nursery. Here is Aristotle. He didn't divide like 0, 3, and 4, 6, but he said 0 to 7 is a remaining home, stay home, and what? Socialization is a childhood stage. They should really emphasize, right? Family stay and raising children is really important. Here is elementary schools like 6 to 13. It's like nowadays kind of similar, right? 6 to 13, and then they go to school, and then play and poetry and reading and writing and singing, dancing and religion and social etiquette and number with geometry. That is a basic education. But think about nowadays, this kind of education is the same, right? Almost based on that one. But I don't know whether you guys had a music class and dancing class while you were in elementary school, but still, it's a part of your education itself. When I was in elementary school, we had music class until junior high school and high school, and but my kids here. There is no music education. I know some school districts have they have a band program, and sometimes some district provide orchestra and then band, and there is kind of music program not to everybody. And my kids are in elementary, and some kids really want to learn, and they make extra time for the learning instrument. That's it. But there is no dancing and singing classes. But I grew up with music education, so even though I don't sing well, but I learned some theories. Here is Aristotle's from elementary school period in 8 to 13, and the reading, writing, counting. So try to compare, and then secondary school is like here, like junior high school and high school. We said not the primary and secondary. Elementary is primary, and secondary school is like little bit different from here. And then for secondary is history, drama, poetry, science, public speaking, and physical education. Can you see that the topics, and then nowadays how schools teach their basic subject at school, right? And that's Aristotle's idea, and waterfall and Plato, and Plato Kitradam and singing readers, hymns, memorizing poetry, and arithmetic. So if you see the Aristotle's curriculum is a little bit emphasis is closer to ours nowadays, right? But if you see the Plato's a little bit, they really emphasize on the art and like this. And then Aristotle said that after 18 and maybe 19 plus, that's a military training. There is no more education. But here is, and then Plato is like a 16 to 20s, and gymnastic and military and formal gymnastics and military training, no introductory training done at this age, so 16 to 20s. And then there's interesting, like a 4-year gaps there. And then, but elementary school period, and then they really focus on the basic things, so writing, reading, and numbers and counting, and then 16 to 20s, like secondary school year, and then they don't much focus on the academic area. And but 16 to 20 is really focused on the gymnastic and the military training, but 20 to 30 is coordinated reasoning and habits, integrated physical science. They teach about science, maybe 20 and 30. So our education is usually 23, and after 22, after college is done. So if you wanna, if a student wanna goes to the higher degrees, and maybe the masters and doctorates, and then yeah, a little bit different. And then 30 to 35, philosophy and psychology and sociology. Maybe before the 30, Plato thought that the people were not ready to study about philosophy and this subject. So, and maybe 32, 35 to 50, you can work for the government, state, and then maybe 50 to plus, and then he's thinking about not this level, but a bit deeper level of the philosophies until, and can you see that how it's different, but can you see that, can you compare this educational system with ours? In United States, maybe in your country, right? Almost same though, almost same. And sometimes, I know, so when I'm from Korea, and then look back like elementary years and junior high school years, and then and high school years and college years, we really emphasize on the Koreans, and then here too, English is really emphasized. Maybe if you go to Japan, maybe they really emphasize Japanese, and then Koreans and math and English. That's the main thing. Math and English is junior high school, but elementary is mostly to really emphasize in science, math, and was the mother language, right? That is the main topic. So, yeah, there is a basic kind of idea of how Greek kind of pursue the education, and so the philosophers suggest the education systems. What about Roman period? So we're gonna know that even though they suggest, but basically their education is really theoretical. Next, the Roman period, they appeared around 500 years, and then, right? And then they developed their own countries, and then what? And around 146 BC, and they conquered what? Greece. And then they recruited a lot of Greek educators to develop the Roman education system. And philosophies start from the Greek, and then influence a lot to the Roman philosophers too. But so here is kind of some characteristic of the Roman educations, and the Roman's education is really practical, and then so get a lot of support, and very organized, and then administrated, and to a commendable network of elementary school and secondary school and institutions for higher education. And there is kind of a set basic education system. primary and secondary and like a college, university, right? And higher educations. But it's practical and willing to support, and then they organize very well. It's one of what is quintilians, like around 35 to 15 first centuries, and then he thinking about so kind of a church of individual and mental and physical difference, and not excessive corporeal punishment and encouragement and the reward. That's one of the educational methods that he used, and then try to help the students. So really, school subject is very practical, relate to life, and then that is one of the examples, Roman period educations. And here is Romans education is like this, and then usually like us, but America is like a 6, 5, and they go to kindergarten. Usually they stay home, but nowadays, and then they go to kindergarten, prepare for the elementary, but they count elementary. So here is okay. 0 to 6 is a home educations, and they really basic kind of instruction. Idea of the education was basic instruction in the duty related to the home, right? Girls also homemaking and cooking and cleaning and making clothes, but boys character and moral development and respect of the elders, and then that is a basic education at homes. And what about elementary? Elementary is 7 to 11s, and then taught by the rude magisters and literators, and also they really focus on the reading and writing and arithmetics, right? Arithmetics. That is a basic elementary schools, and then maybe I don't know the social science, and then nowadays we teach some social science, and during the elementary school around here. And what about they said 15 to 21 and grammar, and another word is kind of secondary, and then school is level is grammar level, and then schooling is what? Latin grammar school. So it's a little bit different. 4 years, right? Taught by the grammaticals, or the literature, and content consists of 7 literal arts: grammar, rhetoric, and dialectic, and music, arithmetic, and geometry, and astronomy. Like this, that's a topic that they learn around 12 to 15. And but when you see that the kind of curriculum, as they getting older age, and then kind of they developing the new subject and harder subject, right? I mean, level is a college age, and then around 16, 18 is known as a school of rhetoric, and the content is grammar, rhetoric, and dialectic. So a little bit more focus and developed their as a specialty like that, and they really focus on that one. And like this is secondary nowadays in America. It's like, right? In America, it's a secondary school, and primary school is like elementary and junior high, and secondary is like high school, right? I think so. And higher education is college, and then here is university is 20 to 40, which age gets really big, maybe. And University of Rome taught the courses in law and medicine and philosophy and architect and mathematics and rhetoric. And then university is really like specialized. It's not just basic education, reading, writing, arithmetic, and basic stuff, right? And but age-wise, 25 to 40. But here is like 22 in America is done. Their education, basic education is done up to college, right? That is Roman education. So they compare with the Greek educations, and we saw that the Plato suggests one, and Aristotle and suggests one. So this is a Roman's educational system is like language is a little different, and but age level is a little bit different, but still our education is based on that one, but kind of right, so age is really condensed. So education goes very quickly, right? Until 22, they even started university, and then but they started university, right? Finished the university here. Here is some comparison between Greek education and Roman education. Maybe you can see our basic how they are different, how they same, and then Greek education is really abstract and theoretical and ideal, so it's really imaginative. But Roman education really practical in the physical, focus on the physical, and then really concrete, really practical, and really constructive. But Greek education is really not concrete and creative, and then subjective. It's not they have their own ideas, and then artistic. They dance, poetry, and music, and idealistic, not realistic. That is a basic difference, and then they Greek in Greek educations and also the educator minimize administrative capabilities, and right, they don't need much about that one, but in Rome's educator need extensive administrative capabilities, so little bit different. And there is maybe here is another one is they taught beauty and culture and poetry, art, but Greek known the law, duty, respect, and civility. So we can see how different, right? And there's a really different education system. But nowadays, think about education is when you go to college and they whatever you are interested in, focus on like this, but not holistic. And then nowadays it's really also specialized, and then diversity, right? And then Hebrew education at the time, think about around Greek and Rome's period, and then we already talked about the Old Testament period, but this is a Hebrew education around Rome and Greeks, Greeks under the Rome influence of the Rome and Greek, and they developed. Hebrew developed the 4 levels continuum in Greek and Rome's period. So different, they have own different levels, and then up to 6, and really home-based education like we could say Greek and Rome, and ages 6 to 12, and synagogue and schools in which literary and mathematical training accompanies religious instruction. So 6 to 12, think about Hebrew education is what? Religious education is really important. So, literary and mathematics, and that is until primary education. Yeah, that's a primary education, and then 12 to 16 is like secondary education. Is like a comprehensive study of the law in small groups at the feet of the rabbi. Some people are kind of selected, not little bit specialized, and then they have to learn the law, right? In small groups, not big group. And then 16 through the other two is individualized higher education in the law and advanced theology of the supervision and respected authorities. So, and until like after 16, and then usually they they personally pursue the higher education, and then sometimes if they want to be rabbi or priest, and they have special education is there. That's a Hebrew education around the Romans and Greece period, right? Any questions so far? No? So we are we are talking about historical foundation of education. So we can see how education is started. We don't go to detail, but okay, like only like 3,500 BC in Near East area and Near East, and then the Near East, and then China, and later on Egypt, right? China is around 300 years, 2,000 in China also, and Egypt around 500 BC, and then educational system, and then school are established. So, and then we are talking about the Greek education, and then we talk about Roman education. So how they differ, and then especially what kind of education system they are running, and this is a kind of based on the Roman influence of the Romans, and then there is a big one of the big things in Israel was the exile. They are destroyed by Babylon, and then people are captive. People become captive, and then they took to the Babylon, and then they had their own community, right? And then they developed the synagogue, the kind of educational system. There is no temple anymore. Usually, temple is a place that they worship God and learn about God, but they moved to other countries and live the kind of in the land, and then they developed the kind of their social centers and religious centers like that. That is synagogue, and that's why synagogues and who is really special knowledge of the Bible, and they teach the children, and they practice their religions. They get in place. We talk about until like almost first second centuries around the time. So, and okay, if you have any questions, and let's take a 10-minute break. 2 minutes? Yeah, okay, 10-minute break. So we can start class around 15, and then finish like at 12 o'clock. So, if you have any question about class and personally anything, and just let me know. During the break time, we can talk. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. Water break, bathroom break.